The cold metal floor beneath Aurora's feet sent shivers through her body. Her silver skin, usually glowing with a soft blue light, had dimmed to a pale gray in the darkness of her prison cell. The energy chains around her wrists hummed quietly, suppressing the natural telepathic abilities that were the pride of her people. 20 days had passed since the Darkstone forces had attacked her ship during a diplomatic mission. 20 days since she had last seen the crystal spires of her homeworld. Now she sat alone in the depths of their massive space station, trapped like a rare creature in a collector's cage. Through the small window of her cell, she could see the endless expanse of space. Somewhere out there, her people were searching for her. The Crystal Empire, with all its advanced technology and telepathic powers, had no idea where their princess had been taken. "Your Highness," a rough voice called out. Guard Commander Rex stepped into view, his black armor absorbing what little light reached the cell. "I trust you're finding your accommodation suitable." His smile revealed sharp teeth, a common trait among his species. Aurora lifted her chin, displaying the royal bearing that had been instilled in her since childhood. "If you think these chains will make me agree to marry your leader, you're mistaken." Rex laughed, the sound echoing off the metal walls. "You misunderstand, Princess. Your agreement isn't necessary. The ceremony will proceed in 7 days, whether you wish it or not. Our leader will have his claim to the Crystal Empire's throne, and your people will have no choice but to accept it." Aurora's heart raced, but she kept her face calm. The Darkstone regime had planned this well. Their society valued strength above all else, and what better way to show strength than to force a marriage with the Crystal Empire's princess? When Rex left, Aurora closed her eyes and focused. The energy chains limited her telepathic powers, but they couldn't eliminate them completely. Each night, when the station's power systems cycled to their lowest point, she had a few precious minutes where the chain's effectiveness decreased slightly. She waited until the usual dimming of lights signaled the night cycle. Then, gathering every ounce of strength she had, Aurora projected her thoughts into space. It was like trying to shout across an ocean, but she had to try. Help. Please, someone hear me. The effort left her exhausted, slumped against the cell wall. She knew it was almost hopeless. Most species in the galaxy were either completely telepathic, making them vulnerable to the Darkstone's blocking technology, or completely non-telepathic, making them unable to hear her call. But there were rumors, stories of a new species from a distant arm of the galaxy. Humans, they were called. Their minds were different, somehow resistant to both telepathic control and blocking technology. The Darkstone dismissed them as primitives, barely able to achieve faster-than-light travel. Aurora had never met a human, but right now, even a primitive ally would be better than no ally at all. She pushed herself up and walked to the window, placing her hand against the cold, transparent material. The stars twinkled back at her, countless points of light in the darkness. Somewhere out there, someone had to be listening. Someone had to be able to hear her call. As she stared into space, one particular star seemed to shine brighter than the others, drawing her attention. Aurora didn't believe in omens, but at this moment, she allowed herself to feel a tiny spark of hope. She would try again tomorrow night, and the night after that. She would keep trying until either someone heard her, or she was forced to walk down the aisle in 7 days' time. The fate of her people, her empire, and her own freedom depended on it. The energy chains clinked softly as she moved back to her sleeping pad, a sound that had become the constant background music of her imprisonment. But tonight, for the first time in 20 days, Princess Aurora of the Crystal Empire fell asleep with a small smile on her face. Jack Stone sat in the captain's chair of his merchant ship, the Star Runner, rubbing his temples. The strange feeling had returned, stronger this time. It wasn't quite a headache, but more like a whisper just at the edge of his hearing. He'd been experiencing it for the past 3 nights. "Captain, you okay?" Tom, his engineer, looked up from the control panel. The older man's gray beard couldn't hide his concerned expression. "You've got that look again." "I'm fine. Jack said, though he wasn't entirely sure that was true. But there's something out there. Something. Calling. Lisa, the ship's navigator, spun her chair around. Her dark eyes narrowed as she studied the sensor readings. All instruments show clear space for the next 50 light years, Captain. Well, except for that Darkstone station we've been avoiding. The mention of the station made the whisper in Jack's mind grow stronger. He stood up and walked to the main viewport, staring out at the stars. Humans had only been part of the galactic community for 15 years, and most advanced species still saw them as primitives. But Jack had learned that being underestimated could be an advantage. Tom, remember that incident last year, when that Crystal Empire diplomat tried to read your mind? Tom chuckled. Yeah, gave himself a headache. Something about human brains being unusually resistant to telepathic contact. What if? Jack paused, considering his next words carefully. What if someone is trying to send us a message, not control us, just communicate? Lisa brought up a star chart on the main screen. The only significant location within range is that Darkstone station, and they're not exactly known for their friendly communication attempts. The whisper came again, and this time Jack caught fragments of emotion with it. Fear, desperation, and hope. He'd never experienced anything like it before. Captain, Tom said slowly, you're not suggesting we investigate, are you? The Star Runner is a merchant vessel, not a warship. We've got a hold full of cargo to deliver. Jack walked to the navigation console and pointed to the station's location on the map. The cargo can wait. Someone needs help out there. I can feel it. Even if you're right, Lisa argued, that station is heavily guarded. The Darkstone don't take kindly to uninvited guests, especially humans. They think we're barely better than space monkeys. A small smile crossed Jack's face. Then let's use that. They won't expect much from a simple human merchant ship. Tom stood up, his heavy boots clunking on the metal floor. You're serious about this, aren't you? We could lose everything. The ship, the cargo, maybe even our lives. The whisper touched Jack's mind again, and this time he caught a glimpse of silver skin and energy chains. If we ignore someone who needs help just because it's dangerous, what does that say about us? About humanity? Lisa sighed and began inputting new coordinates. Well, I didn't sign up for this job because I wanted a boring life, but we'll need a plan. Already working on one, Jack said, returning to his chair. The Darkstone think we're primitive, so they won't expect us to have certain technologies. Like that experimental stealth system we borrowed from the military. Tom laughed and shook his head. You mean the one we're absolutely not supposed to have? Perfect. The Star Runner changed course, its engines humming quietly in the vastness of space. As they drew closer to the station, the whisper in Jack's mind grew clearer. Someone was definitely calling for help, and they were going to answer. Jack looked at his small but loyal crew and smiled. Sometimes being human, being primitive, had its advantages. The Darkstone were about to learn that the hard way. The Star Runner drifted silently through space, its stealth systems making it nearly invisible to the Darkstone station's sensors. Jack watched through the viewport as patrol ships passed by, their crews completely unaware of the human vessel hiding in plain sight. Scanning the station now, Lisa whispered, though there was no need to be quiet in space. The tension had everyone speaking softly. I'm picking up 12 levels, heavy security on levels 3 through 9, and something strange on level 7. There's an unusual power signature. The energy chains, Jack said, the whisper in his mind growing stronger. They must be using them to hold someone prisoner. Tom finished checking his tool belt. So how do we get in? Even with the stealth system, we can't just walk through their front door. Jack pointed to a section of the station on Lisa's screen. There. Maintenance airlocks. The Darkstone think they're so advanced, they probably don't even guard them properly. The Star Runner moved carefully toward the chosen airlock, using the station's own shadow for extra cover. Jack put on his spacesuit. checking every seal twice. One mistake out here meant death. Remember, he told his crew, if anything goes wrong, you two take the ship and run. That's an order. Lisa handed him a small computer device. This will help you hack their internal systems. They may be advanced, but they've never dealt with human computer viruses before. Good thinking, Jack smiled. Sometimes old and simple works better than new and complex. The airlock was exactly where they expected it to be. Jack pushed off from his ship, the silent darkness of space surrounding him as he floated toward the station. The whisper in his mind had become a steady presence now, almost like a compass pointing him in the right direction. Using Lisa's device, he bypassed the airlock's security. The Dark Stone had defended against every known form of advanced hacking, but they hadn't bothered to protect against primitive human methods. Their overconfidence was their weakness. Inside the station, Jack carefully removed his spacesuit and hid it behind some maintenance panels. The corridors were eerily clean and bright, with black metal walls that seemed to absorb some of the light. He pressed himself against a wall as two guards walked past, their heavy boots echoing on the metal floor. "Lisa, do you copy?" he whispered into his communicator. "Barely," her voice crackled. "The station's walls are interfering with our signals. You'll be on your own once you go deeper inside." Jack checked the small map they had managed to download. 7 levels up to reach the prison cells. The maintenance shafts would be his best route. Again, something the Darkstone probably considered too primitive to guard properly. He found an access panel and climbed inside the narrow shaft. It was tight, dark, and uncomfortable, perfect for a primitive human who wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. As he climbed, the whisper in his mind grew stronger, now forming almost clear words. Asterisk, who are you, asterisk? The voice in his head was definitely female, and carried a tone of both hope and fear. Jack paused in his climbing, concentrating hard on forming a response in his mind. Asterisk, a friend. I heard your call. I'm coming to help, asterisk. There was a moment of surprise, then relief flowing through the mental connection. Asterisk, a human. The guards speak of your kind as primitives, asterisk. Jack smiled as he continued climbing. Asterisk, sometimes being primitive has its advantages. Stay strong, princess. I'm on my way, asterisk. Just then, an alarm began blaring through the station. Jack froze in place, listening to the chaos erupting around him. Through the mental connection, he felt the princess's fear spike. Asterisk, they're coming to take me. Asterisk, her voice echoed in his mind. Asterisk, the ceremony. They've moved it forward. Please hurry, asterisk. Jack doubled his pace, ignoring the burning in his muscles. The race against time had begun, and he refused to lose. The maintenance shaft ended at level 7, forcing Jack to emerge into the brightly lit corridor. The alarm still blared through the station, but this level seemed strangely quiet. Too quiet. Asterisk, they're preparing the ceremony chamber, asterisk, Aurora's voice touched his mind. Asterisk, most of the guards are there. My cell is 3 doors down on your right. Hurry. Asterisk. Jack ran down the corridor, his boots making less noise than the heavy footwear the dark stone guards wore. He reached the 3rd door and placed Lisa's hacking device against the control panel. The door's lock resisted for a moment, then clicked open with a soft hiss. The sight inside made him pause. The princess was nothing like he had imagined. Her silver skin seemed to shimmer even in the dim light, and her large violet eyes fixed on him with a mixture of hope and wonder. Energy chains bound her wrists, connected to the wall by humming fields of purple light. You really came, Aurora said aloud, her voice musical despite her obvious exhaustion. I wasn't sure if any human would be brave enough. Jack moved quickly to examine the chains. Brave or foolish, I haven't decided yet. Can you walk? Yes, but the chains. She lifted her bound wrists. They're coded to Darkstone DNA. Only they can deactivate them. A smile crossed Jack's face as he pulled out a small tool from his belt. Good thing I'm not trying to deactivate them then. Sometimes breaking things works better than fancy technology. He began working on the wall panel where the energy fields connected. Aurora watched him with fascination. The guard said humans were primitive, that you barely understood space travel, but you got past all their defenses. Being underestimated is a powerful advantage, Jack replied, concentrating on his work. The Darkstone are so proud of their advanced technology, they never expect someone to just. There was a spark, and the energy fields flickered out. Break it. The chains still hung from Aurora's wrists, but she was no longer bound to the wall. She stood shakily, and Jack noticed she was taller than him by at least a head. Her movements were graceful despite her weakness. "I've never been this close to a human before," she said, studying his face. "Your kind is so different, yet you heard my call when no one else could." Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed from the corridor. Jack pressed his finger to his lips and pulled Aurora behind the door just as two guards rushed past. "They'll check this cell soon," he whispered. "Can you run?" Aurora straightened herself, showing a glimpse of her royal bearing. "I am a princess of the Crystal Empire. I can do whatever I must." Jack peeked out into the corridor. "My ship is 7 levels down. We'll have tow." He never finished the sentence. A massive hand grabbed him from behind, throwing him against the wall. Guard Commander Rex stood in the doorway, his black armor seeming to swallow the light. Well, Rex growled. "A primitive human dares to interfere with Darkstone affairs." He reached for his weapon. "I'll enjoy making an example of you." Aurora's chains suddenly blazed with light. Without the connection to the wall dampening her powers, she could now use them as weapons. She swung them at Rex, forcing him to step back. "Run," she shouted at Jack. "I'll hold him off." Instead of running, Jack tackled Rex's legs. The guard commander, surprised by such a primitive attack, lost his balance. Human and Darkstone went down in a tangle of limbs. Aurora's chains whipped through the air again, catching Rex across his face. The commander roared in pain. "Together," Jack yelled, grabbing Aurora's hand. They sprinted past the stunned commander and into the corridor. The station's alarms changed tone, becoming more urgent. Behind them, Rex's angry shouts echoed off the walls. The real chase was about to begin. Jack and Aurora raced through the black corridors of the station, their footsteps echoing off the metal walls. Behind them, Rex's angry roars mixed with the sound of heavy boots as more guards joined the chase. "The main elevators will be locked down," Jack said between breaths. "We need to find another way down." Aurora's chains clinked as she ran, her silver skin glowing brighter with effort. "There." She pointed to a side passage. "Maintenance shaft entrance. I saw it on the guard schedules." They ducked into the narrow passage just as energy bolts sizzled past them, leaving scorch marks on the walls. Jack quickly sealed the door behind them using Lisa's hacking device. "That won't hold them long," he said, looking down the dark shaft. "Ladies first." Despite their situation, Aurora managed a small smile. Such primitive courtesy. She grabbed the ladder and started climbing down, her chains making the descent awkward but not impossible. Jack followed, trying not to look down into the darkness below. Above them, the sound of guards trying to break through the door echoed down the shaft. "Lisa, Tom, do you copy?" Jack whispered into his communicator. Static crackled, then Lisa's voice came through faintly. "We hear you, Captain. The station's on full alert. They're launching fighter ships." "Good," Jack grinned. "Keep them busy. Make them think we're trying to escape in the Star Runner." Suddenly, the shaft filled with red warning lights. Aurora looked up, her violet eyes wide. "They're activating the emergency fire suppression system. They're going to fill the shaft with foam." "Jump." Jack grabbed her arm, pulling her off the ladder. They fell through the darkness, the white foam rushing down above them. Aurora's chains wrapped around a protruding pipe, swinging them through an open maintenance hatch into a dimly lit corridor. They landed hard, rolling across the floor. Jack helped Aurora to her feet, 3 levels to go. You okay? She nodded, but her silver skin had dulled to a pale gray. The escape was taking its toll on her strength. The chains, they're still draining my energy. But I can keep going. Alarms blared a new warning. Rex's voice boomed through the station speakers. Attention all units. The human and the princess are on level 4. Seal all exits. Shoot the human on sight. Take the princess alive. Your friend is persistent, Aurora said as they started running again. Yeah, he's really bad at taking hints. Jack checked his stolen station map. Storage bay ahead. We can cut through. A group of guards appeared at the corridor's intersection, weapons raised. Without hesitation, Aurora stepped in front of Jack, her chains blazing with purple energy. The guards fired, but their energy bolts deflected off an invisible shield. I thought the chains drained your power, Jack said, amazed. They do, Aurora gasped with effort. But they can also channel it. Duck. She whipped the chains in a wide arc, sending a wave of energy that knocked the guards off their feet. Jack pulled her forward, running past the stunned soldiers. The storage bay doors are sealed, he said, reaching the massive metal doors. Aurora leaned against the wall, her breathing heavy. I can't break through those. Jack pulled out his tools again. Don't worry. Sometimes the old ways work best. He pried open a maintenance panel and started crossing wires. Primitive but effective. Aurora managed a weak laugh. Exactly. The doors shuddered, then slowly began to open. My crew's keeping their ships busy up top, but we've still got 2 more levels to. An energy bolt struck the wall inches from his head. They turned to see Rex standing at the end of the corridor, holding an oversized weapon, his face twisted with rage. You've led us on quite a chase, human, he snarled. But it ends here. Jack looked at Aurora, then at the partially open doors. They had only seconds to decide their next move, and no room for mistakes. Rex's energy bolt sizzled through the air, but Jack had already pulled Aurora through the partially open storage bay doors. They rolled behind a stack of cargo containers as more shots filled the air with burning light. Lisa, Jack shouted into his communicator. We need an exit. Now. Static crackled, then Lisa's voice came through. Outer bay doors are sealed. We can't get close enough to dock. Aurora's chain suddenly pulsed with bright energy. Your ship. I can sense it through our mental link. Get me to a window. Jack looked around the massive storage bay. High above, a line of reinforced windows showed the blackness of space. Between them and the windows stood 24 dark stone guards, all taking positions behind cargo containers. Surrender, human. Rex's voice boomed across the bay. There's nowhere left to run. He's right about that, Jack said, checking his tools. Any ideas, princess? Aurora's violet eyes glowed with determination. The chains. I can use them one more time, but it will take all my remaining strength. Save it, Jack said, pulling out Lisa's hacking device. Sometimes the best solution is the simplest one. He connected the device to a nearby cargo loading system. The massive robotic arms suddenly came to life, swinging wildly and causing chaos among the guards. Under the cover of confusion, Jack and Aurora ran toward the windows, dodging energy bolts. Stop them, Rex roared, pushing past his own men. They reached the window just as Jack's device overloaded, bringing the robotic arms crashing down. Aurora pressed her hands against the reinforced glass, her chains blazing brighter than ever. Asterisk Tom, Lisa, if you can hear me. Nano asterisk. The Star Runner appeared outside the window, its stealth systems deactivating. The ship's mining laser, meant for cutting through asteroids, fired a precise beam at the window's edge. Hold on. Jack grabbed Aurora as the window cracked, then shattered. The vacuum of space pulled at them violently. Aurora's chains wrapped around a support beam, holding them in place as debris and shocked guards flew past them toward the opening. Rex grabbed onto a doorframe, his face contorted with fury. The magnetic shields are activating. Jack shouted over the roar of escaping air. We have to jump now. Aurora nodded, gathering her last reserves of strength. With a final burst of energy, she released the chain's hold and pushed off toward the Star Runner's waiting airlock. They tumbled through space for a heart-stopping moment before landing safely inside Jack's ship. The airlock sealed behind them with a hiss. "Captain," Tom's voice came over the intercom. "We've got company. Lots of company." Jack rushed to the bridge, helping Aurora into a seat. Through the viewport, he saw dozens of Darkstone fighters launching from the station. "Their ships are faster and better armed than ours," Lisa reported from the navigator's station. Jack took the pilot's chair. "But they're predictable. They rely too much on their advanced targeting systems." He turned to Aurora. "Can you still reach out with your powers?" The princess straightened in her seat, her silver skin regaining some of its glow. "Yes, but not far." "The chains." "We don't need far," Jack said, his hands flying over the controls. "Just enough to sense where they're aiming." The Star Runner dove and twisted through space as energy beams cut through the void around them. Aurora called out warnings seconds before each shot, giving Jack just enough time to evade. "More ships launching," Tom reported. "We're surrounded." Suddenly, a new voice cut through their communications. "Unidentified vessel. This is Crystal Empire Battle Cruiser Light of Dawn. We've received the Princess's signal." "Hold on." A massive ship appeared out of hyperspace, its crystalline surface reflecting the light of nearby stars. But the Darkstone forces were already moving to intercept it. The real battle was about to begin, and they were caught in the middle of it. The space between the Darkstone station and the Crystal Empire cruiser erupted into chaos. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes crisscrossed the void, creating a deadly web of light. The Star Runner weaved through the battle, its human pilot performing maneuvers that the more advanced ships couldn't predict. "Their targeting systems can't lock onto us," Lisa said, watching the sensor readings. "They're not programmed to handle such primitive flight patterns." Jack grinned as he spun the ship through another impossible turn. Primitive is just another word for unpredictable. Aurora sat beside him, her violet eyes focused on the battle outside. Despite her exhaustion, she maintained the mental link that helped them dodge enemy fire. The chains on her wrists had grown dim, almost completely drained of power. "The light of dawn is being overwhelmed," she said, worry clear in her voice. "The Darkstone ships are too numerous." Tom checked the engine readings. "Captain, I've got an idea. It's crazy, but..." "Those are my favorite kind," Jack replied, dodging another blast. "The stealth system," Tom explained. "If we overload it near their flagship, it'll create an electromagnetic pulse. Their fancy targeting systems won't handle that well." Aurora turned to Jack. "My people's ships are shielded against such pulses. The Darkstone, in their arrogance, never thought they needed such protection." "Do it," Jack ordered, turning the Star Runner toward the largest Darkstone vessel. The ship accelerated, drawing enemy fire away from the Crystal Empire cruiser. Aurora's chains suddenly blazed with their last burst of energy. "I can enhance the pulse," she said, her silver skin glowing brightly. "The chains, they're made to channel energy. If I overload them at the same moment..." Jack looked at her with concern. "That could be dangerous." A small smile crossed her face. Sometimes primitive solutions are the best ones. The Star Runner charged straight at the Darkstone flagship. Enemy ships fired frantically, but couldn't hit the small vessel performing such unconventional maneuvers. "Now," Jack shouted. Tom overloaded the stealth system as Aurora poured her remaining strength into the chains. A wave of energy burst outward from their ship, amplified by the princess's power. The chains shattered, falling away from her wrists. Every Darkstone ship in range suddenly went dark, their systems scrambled by the pulse. The Crystal Empire cruiser seized the moment, its weapons blazing through the disabled enemy fleet. "Crystal Empire forces, this is Princess Aurora," she broadcast, her voice strong despite her exhaustion. The Darkstone leadership has committed treason against our peace treaties. Take them into custody." The battle ended quickly after that. Without their advanced systems, the Darkstone ships were helpless. The station, including Guard Commander Rex, surrendered to the Crystal Empire forces. Later, as medical teams treated Aurora's wounds aboard the Light of Dawn, she turned to Jack with a thoughtful expression. "My people have long ignored humans, thinking you too primitive to be worthy allies," she said. "We were wrong. Your very unpredictability is your strength." Jack shrugged, looking slightly embarrassed. "We just do what works. Sometimes the simple solution is the best one." "Which is why," Aurora continued, "as my first act upon returning home, I will propose a formal alliance between the Crystal Empire and Earth." She held out her hand, and what she had learned was a human gesture of agreement. "We have much to learn from each other." Jack took her hand, smiling. "I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship, and maybe something more." The Star Runner and the Light of Dawn traveled together through space, heading toward Crystal Empire territory. Behind them, the Darkstone station grew small in the distance, a reminder that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in advanced technology, but in the courage to think differently. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, word began to spread about the human who had rescued a princess, changed the balance of power, and proved that being primitive wasn't always a disadvantage. Sometimes it was exactly what the galaxy needed.